I might be far gone, I don't know. I'm about to tell what I know is so. Got the reason, got a feel to the core. Your excuses just block the road.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless. They don't wanna see me care. Anytime I I make some progress, I can see that they compare. I think everyone's against me, maybe something in the air. Am I paranoid? I swear a void is forming and they're scared. I walk a straight path, not many can say that. I like to play fast, cross me and there's payback. You better pray that I don't see your face at any place that I go. I know you hate that. I've been doing fine, I'm not wasting any more time. I live for the fight and the climb, and I think that the pain that's deep inside is what defines. So I won't give up, I'm gonna make it to the top. I don't care what's in my way, I swear I'm never gonna stop. I could fall flat on my face and I swear I won't get back up, cause I don't deserve a thing and the road ahead is tough. They'll try to kick you while you're down, they wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt, they're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless. Hiding my
And we are rolling in, going free. How is everybody? Let me know if the microphone is okay. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to see you all. We've had a couple of very brief brownouts. That could, if it happens again, cause the internet to be lost momentarily. I believe that would just go back to I guess it would just take us to the regular streaming page. Maybe just my avatar on the screen. And then I should be back. I have everything else is battery powered, but I'm afraid I can't battery power the internet. What are we talking about today? What are we talking about today? Hold on just one moment while we... Actually, we will play this really quickly while I make an adjustment. I'll be right back. All right, we should be rolling, but I do have to check on the back end of entropy because the great Mrs. Jess Horst has already been here and she has left. It looks like it appears to be a financial gift. So let me look at that. Mrs. Jess Horst. Yes, indeed. Financially gifting $5 over on Entropy, which is up and running. Well, let me make sure. Hold on. Yes, I'm not muted. Thank you so much, dear sister. And she writes with those $5 hail and 3 white heart emojis. I deeply appreciate that. Thank you so much. And it's great to see you all on this Saturday night. We're going to be back together tomorrow, our normal time. Thank you so much, Franklin. Good sir. Champion of white well-being. All right. If you would like to make a comment or question over the course of our roll-in going free gathering today, you can do so by financially gifting, and your comment or question will absolutely be read on Entropy, on Odyssey, and on Cash App. The links for all three are in the description below. And if you can't find it, you can ask one of the troll slayers or mods, as you might know them, elsewhere. And they have better training here. They have better training. It's like special forces. So you get like the regular army, and then you get special forces. You get the regular peeling potato in the army guy, and then you get special forces over here. That's what's happening. So wonderful to see everybody on Odyssey, D Live, whoever ends up showing up there. Lord knows the anti-whites, they got a grip on our throats, especially mine. Miss Jess Horst says, Promethean greetings, sir. Well, big Promethean greetings to you, dear lady. Great to see you. Great to see everybody here. I see Lacey is here. Hello to you. I see Robert. I see, who else? White Wolf. Cool name. J.W. Oldner. Wonderful to see you. And there's the great Piers Taylor. Joe is with us as well. The great Elaine Sabatino. And I got your text message. And thank you very much, Elaine. And yes, we are streaming tonight. Montana Kid, Corey Bell, Mr. Fookers, to you all. Promethean Promulgation. There's the great Nathaniel Nelson. Marluxia. He says, fun fact, No White Guilt channel never pops up in the search results on YouTube. Yeah, it's really despicable. It truly is what the anti-whites are doing. It's such an open admission, and yet we can't take any... God, there are so many different ways to put this. We can't like coddle ourselves and say, well, we would do more if only for. Yeah, we can't use them as an excuse. We can't We can't sit back and think, well, they just got that covered. We really can't do anything in that direction anymore. We've got to continue to try. This is the way that you're going to reach the most people. And it is an admission that the anti-whites are evil, that the reason why they can't allow people, and this is a meme curative, they can't allow the masses to hear what we have to say. Because if they do, they know that they will lose their control over the masses. That's why they have to silence us. That's why they're such lying, scheming, manipulative bastards. Every single one of them. And right now, they are currently lying and scheming and manipulating, and we're going to get into this news. President Biden hosts anti-extremism summit at White House. Now, extremism, of course, is a word for anybody who is not anti-white enough. And that's how you should talk about it with your friends, family, and strangers. What's an extremist, Mom? It's anybody who's not anti-white enough. That's what it is. Child comes to you. What's an extremist? They say that everybody on Patriots Day was an extremist. That just means, in their vernacular, somebody who is not anti-white enough. You see how you win with this? I'm going to have to start walking around like Al Capone with like a baseball bat. Just intimidating, walking back and forth, pacing right behind them with a baseball bat. President Joe Biden on Thursday will address a White House conference on hate-motivated violence. Hate. That's a meme pathogen, and it means anyone who is not anti-white enough. In his latest bid to call out what he sees as a dangerous tide of extremism, again, anybody who's not anti-white enough, across the country, officials said. So what are we looking at specifically? It's that right now we're seeing, and this is really an important, we're going to go over some comments as well before the show tomorrow, because very excitingly, we have an amazing guest tomorrow on Going Free. You will find out soon enough. And while we are in the midst of, this malaise, this BIBS, this Biden-induced bipolar syndrome, and everybody wanting to share credit in our successes, while we're in the midst of this, which of course does what? For everybody out there that wants to say, oh, it's Jason, it's no big deal. You just let them go ahead and just share credit. It's no big deal. Well, if you needed water, if you were in the desert and you needed water, and there was only one way to get to it, but a few thousand people came up with different directions to you. Now, do you think it matters? Right? The source of the salvation is relevant. So while this is going on, we have the federal government arming bureaucrats. Now, I heard this on the news. You can check it out for yourself. They have now armed so many bureaucrats, armed with firearms, while they vigorously work to take away your right to self-defense. They have armed so many bureaucrats, even the EPA. So these are not police forces. These are not like the police that if the EPA, for example, or HUD or whatever needed protection somewhere, they would have the police come. No, this is not like this is the bureaucrats now get to be armed. And they have armed so many, according to the news, that I'll just say Fox News, according to Fox News, that there are now more armed bureaucrats than there are Marines in the Marine Corps. So you'll have to check that out to see if that's true. But they are busy arming bureaucrats. And meanwhile, Biden says somewhere in this summit, I think it is, maybe we'll read it, that there can be no oxygen for people who aren't anti-white enough. That's how we would phrase it, so that it's in our story, so that we can understand it, so that it can work to our well-being. He's saying that anybody who's not anti-white enough has to be denied oxygen. Now, of course, at least we think he means that metaphorically. But to be denied oxygen, metaphorically, what does that mean? To be unable to speak. If you can't breathe, you can't speak. If you can't breathe, people can't hear or read your ideas. That, of course, is technically illegal. We're not going to look to the First Amendment of the Constitution, but it is indeed an abridgment. The anti-whites, they don't care for the Constitution. They do whatever they want, and they have the power to do whatever they want. Even invade the former president's home. Even invade and confiscate the phones and etc., computers of so many scores of his friends. This is what we're being told in the news. Perhaps it's wrong. You should check it out for yourself. But they have the power to do this kind of thing, and in healthier times, they wouldn't. Do you remember all of the people, just as an aside, who were telling you to vote for Biden? What do you think about them now? They now have set up a purchase list for everybody who's purchasing a tool of self-defense. In an age where there's firearms, there's one tool for self-defense. There's one equalizer for self-defense, and that's the firearm. They now have, by way of credit card companies, the ability to create lists of those who are exercising their right to self-defense. And folks are speculating, well, about, well, I'll just get out a cashier's check. I'll just pull the money out of the bank that I need for the purchase. Yep, you won't be on that list. But if they're already looking at you, they'll look at, or not at that moment, if they start looking at you, they'll go and look at, well, what has his bank transaction actions been like? Did he pull out enough money for, did she pull out enough money for a firearm? And you can't start keeping all your money at home, because then you're just setting up to have the place burned down or robbed or whatever it is, especially as things become more anarchic across the U.S. That video I saw the other day of the person who took out, what, like 10, 15,000 from the bank, and then car rammed his car repeatedly out in the street. Gunman jumped out, made him give him the bag of money. Said it's gone. It's no longer insured, as far as I know. So, they're arming the bureaucracy. They are, and that's very curious. What might you need armed bureaucrats for? Armed bureaucrats are not, well, let me just get right to the point maybe. It's to protect the regime, so that it doesn't matter how many citizens get upset. They won't only have to deal with law enforcement, but in legitimate law enforcement, but indeed the bureaucracies themselves. Folks who will be, of course, fighting for their lives if anything ever came to something violent, which we genuinely hope that it never does, because it will go bad for us. It will, in every way. So, but also, if you have these multiple bureaucracies armed, you effectively have police forces that you can call on. Maybe you're stymied in the use of one police force. Then you have another. Then you have another. And we have, of course, this intrepid reporter, and she's an establishment reporter, Carrie Pickett, revealing what she found out from the FBI themselves. So let's go ahead and get into this story. And I'll keep an eye on all of you. Financial gifts and otherwise comments. Remember, if you're going to reach out to me with a comment or question during the course of this gathering, please tag me as No White Guilt so that I can see it. Great to see you, Caleb, Kingdom of Vinland. Bryce is here. Hey, there's the lovely Porridge is here. Great to see you, good brother. Anglo-America. Great to see you. He says, hello, brother. Hello back. Bryce says, after purchasing a copy of Go Free for a brother, he showed me a message stating that it could not be redeemed in his country. How about that? He was in Canada at the time, attempting to redeem the copy that I obtained for him. Yeah, Canada, a lot of people don't realize this, that Canada has been burning books. And of course, that's a euphemism for their bans on the ability to speak here and read opinions that are not anti-white enough before we were born. I mean, I remember when I was like 17 and found out from older guys, they were like, oh, you can't ship to Canada any books that aren't anti-white. You have to package them up in a way that they can't tell at all at Canada, and you have to cross your fingers, hope that it gets through. And it would get through sometimes. But often they would catch and seize the book. And then the dealer was out and the buyer was out. So I'm not surprised, unfortunately. Our once great country of Canada has absolutely gone down. It's insane. The level of tyranny. Joe says, hi, Jason. Hello back. Robert says, my ancestor was in Longstreet's Corps. Oh, cool. At Gettysburg. How about that? Very cool. That's something to take pride in. I hope that you're doing like me and you honor that ancestor by being a hero today and by doing the thing that works today. But you don't honor him by running up a Confederate flag once a year or however many times a year or going to reenactments. That's no honoring. Being the hero that he was, that is how you honor him. So I suspect that that's the case with you. I see Arden White is here. Great to see you, sister. All right. Here's some of what Joe Biden, the corpse in chief, is talking about. And I want you to reflect on the fact that it's been several years now. And by the way, let's get a thank you, please, if we could. Maybe some 07s for Carlisle, who got all this information for me tonight. And that's where I'm reading from, is all the information that she collected. So a big thank you to Carlisle for that. But I want you to reflect on the fact that it's been several years now that I, with love in my heart, came to you all, the white positive sphere, but indeed the entire white sympathetic sphere. And I told folks, the federal government is now saying that this word and that identifier and that image and etc., increasing what they had already had on the books, is grounds for moving these people from one list of level of investigation to another one. And that other one was adjacent to domestic terrorism. And so it was with love in my heart that I was saying, you should think twice about, say, calling yourself a white nationalist. If indeed you were not the things and I don't know anybody who are or who is the things or who are the things that anti-whites claim people who call themselves white nationalists are. I've never met anybody like that. So the description they give of a white nationalist is really just this monster from their anti-white narrative, their fiction. So I said, you ought to exercise caution about that moniker, especially in the U.S., because of this, because of, they say it means all these things about you. And that would be the kind of thing presented to a judge, the kind of thing presented to a jury, if you ever came to the scenario of being in front of a judge or jury. And you wouldn't get an opportunity to say, no, actually, I say it because I'm white and I'm a nationalist. They're not going to listen to any of that. They're just going to say, this is what the FBI says it means. And this is what that comports with my whole life's experience of fiction, which in my subconscious mind, the mind that controls me 90% of my life, comports with the claims of the government that a white nationalist is XYZ. And there were other names as well, monikers. And they're adding more, they're moving on more. What ended up happening, though? Well, the white sympathetic sphere largely stood up and gave me the middle finger and made up lies about me and the like, because I wanted to watch out for them, wanted to protect them. They could just said, no, thanks. And I assume some individuals did. But collectively, it was a full press attack. And anyhow, as folks, and you remember, got so many of the predictions, I could just run through them. Who cares? I won't even bother. Remember I said that once Biden's in office, they'll be able to go and they're going to unleash the CIA on intractable searches around the world, and you'll see arrests around the world. And then immediately, like that rapper that had been in hiding for so long, so many others just instantly were getting caught, found, and arrested. Don't listen to that guy. Don't listen to that no white guilt guy. The event, dubbed, quote, the United We Stand Summit, will highlight, quote, the corrosive effects of hate-fueled violence on our democracy and public safety. Violence on our democracy and public safety. The democracy one is the same excuse they used to kill 1 million plus in Iraq, to kill, who knows, uncountable, not because more, but in Afghanistan. Threat to the democracy and public safety, just general safety. The White House said in a statement. The statement cited a deadly racist attack. Okay, let's jump down. They're going to list some attacks that they say are neo-Nazis, white supremacists, all of these things that exist in their anti-white narrative in great abundance and it's always on the rise. Remember that. The summit comes just 8 weeks ahead of midterm elections in which Republicans are seeking to take control of Congress. It also comes just 2 weeks after Biden delivered a fiery speech. It sounded to me like he was like a really disoriented old man, but okay, fiery speech. Denouncing the, quote, extreme ideology of former President Donald Trump. Extreme ideology is the exact verbiage he used. Not anti-white enough. Donald Trump, and so you would say you would be inclined to say extreme ideology. MAGA people? No, I'm right of them. If you're inside the anti-white narrative, don't ever talk like that. You're not in the anti-white narrative. No, it's extreme ideology. It is all of these things. It's racist. It's neo-Nazi. It's all of these things, white supremacist, because it's not anti-white enough. You get in the way of anti-whites victimizing Western kind, destroying Western civilization. You're not anti-white enough, and therefore you are all of the synonyms of the devil in their mind. Not Beelzebub or Lucifer or whatever. In their mind, the devil is a beautiful white baby boy who's just opened his big eyes that have color that you don't see without a white genetic heritage anywhere else. In my opinion, I mean, I could be wrong. It's probably blue and green eyes, I'm sure, and hazel eyes. I'm sure they originated in non-white races, and then we stole it. Whose supporters overran the Capitol. This is just going to get worse and worse over the years if we don't recapture our destiny. By the time they go to, another decade or so, can you imagine this when they talk about Patriots Day? Because we didn't, the white sympathetic sphere is not getting together and saying, oh, Patriots Day, that's brilliant. I mean, we saw Nikki Fuentes try to take it, but then backed off when I showed a collection of 5-6 live streams where I put it together. So instead of us getting together and saying, this is what it was, Patriots Day, when the Patriot lost his innocence, it's, well, we'll just go with whatever they say. We'll just call it Jan 6. And then what does Jan 6 mean in the mind of the average person? Nothing. So they'll just look to, okay, well, what happened? Oh, it was an overrunning of the Capitol by machine gun and torch wielding MAGA folks. Got it. To try to overturn the 2020 election, and who continues to promote far-right conspiracy theories. A White House official told reporters that Thursday's event, which will feature a panel with both Republican and Democrat mayors, was not political and would, quote, demonstrate that we can unite across partisan lines. So, no, of course, the Republican, anti-whites too. This is why we're forcing Republicans, putting them on the spot. Say our name. And when they don't, we know who they are. A cross-section of civil rights activists, religious leaders, academics, and elected officials. So a bunch of anti-white bastards, such as mayors, will be among those attending when Biden's set to deliver a main address. Quote, the summit will put forward a shared vision for a more united America, more united. So you all have to be united in anti-whiteism. Yeah, you can be getting raped, you can be getting robbed, you can be forced into poverty, living in a van down by the river and everything, but you're going to be anti-white or you're going to be visited by the government. Demonstrating that the vast majority of Americans agree that there is no place for hate-fueled violence, no place for deviation from anti-whiteism in our country, and that when Americans stand united to renew civic bonds and heal divides, so in other words, you'll agree with anti-whites, and that's how we're healed. We can help prevent acts of hate and violence. Don't bother saying, well, it's never hate when they're, of course it's not. In their story, you can't change their story, can you? The White House said today's summit, ominously, quote, today's summit is just the beginning. And so here's what they went into. Reuters, by the way. Biden says haters won't have last word. Wants to end social media immunity. Haters won't have last word. So, according to the anti-whites, at this level of oppression, suppression, theft of our free speech, theft of our ability to communicate with our peers, they still are talking about that as though we are getting the last word. There can be no contradiction, according to the anti-whites, to anti-whiteism. U.S. President Joe Biden called on Americans to speak out against racism and extremism. For those out there who think they can still use the concept racist, I keep getting told that, and is this true? Has anybody else heard? You can tell me now. Tag me as No White Guilt. Is David Duke actually pushing the use of anti-white racism? Are other people hearing this? I mean, I get messages from time to time that he has. It's absolutely inconceivable. Anyhow, at the White House on Thursday, and said he would ask Congress to do more to hold social media companies accountable for spreading hate. Can you imagine? Some of you used to, or some of you will probably remember what YouTube was like before the anti-whites locked it down. And it was incremental, getting locked down. In the very beginning, it was the coolest platform ever. Everything you wanted, the algorithm gave it to you. And you wanted more of it, it gave you more. You started showing interest one direction, it would give you a little bit of that. A little bit more interest, it'd give you a little bit more. It was brilliant. And then the anti-whites came in, and now we have, like our one champion here saying that I don't come up in searches. We have 20,000+ people as subscribers, but a handful show up for my live streams that are just always ongoing. How's that possible? The subscribers are two things happening to them. They're being unsubscribed and they're not getting the alerts. That's what's happening. You know, if a subscriber hated me and they didn't want my alerts, that person would do like you do or I do. When we subscribe to somebody and then get their alerts and we don't like it, we unsubscribe, right? But that doesn't happen. So on YouTube, on Twitter, on indeed these new supposedly alt tech platforms, Getter, there already is an algorithm. There already is this parsing of the information, what they're going to allow people's interests to be, what interests they will allow people to feed. So if a person's interested in hearing more about a method that undermines, or heading the direction where they would find a method that undermines anti-whiteism, which is the psychological warfare that's waged against us, the algorithm now won't allow them to be fed those things. In the past, you got a little bit of interest some direction, the algorithm fed you a little bit more, it fed you more. People would naturally be coming here. Why? Because they're not getting answers everywhere else in the white sympathetic sphere that work. So they would naturally be coming here in droves. We wouldn't have 20,000. We'd have 200,000. Who knows how many more? So instead of that happening, instead of these anti-whites allowing the individual to naturally find their way to something that fascinates, interests, and serves them, they are undermining the process and indeed attempting, as many report, and I see myself, to lead you away from what you're interested in, what you might find of service to you, to lead you back toward something anti-white, if it's going to be socio-political at all. And indeed, I mean, Instagram, Facebook, you see, they will throw at you every other interest you have. You like windsurfing. You've shown a little bit of interest in windsurfing, maybe last year. You're going the direction of socio-political stuff. You're searching, you're trying to find something, and you start getting tons of windsurfing suggestions. You're not looking for windsurfing now. This is what's happening. And even though that's what's happening, anti-whites at all levels are saying it's not enough. That is permitting the spread of heresy to anti-whiteism. Any heresy to anti-whiteism is unacceptable to an anti-white. They're always moving that direction. We only ever have so much time. Here they say, Biden is saying, white supremacists will not have the last word. They want media companies like YouTube to be able to be sued for a crazy person going out in the world, or an idiot or a monster harming innocent people. They want people to be able to say they got it from YouTube and therefore YouTube should be able to be sued. Well, if YouTube could be sued for something like that, then YouTube would immediately kick me. And doesn't matter what, if you're not radically anti-white, everybody would be, who's not radically anti-white, would immediately be gone. You couldn't even be, if you were known for having agreed with some things that were not anti-white, but you like to juggle swordfish, and that's all your channel is about, you would be gone too. Ask Congress to do more to hold social media companies accountable for spreading hate. So for spreading heresy. So he said this at a summit of bipartisan leaders, experts, and survivors. You know, something else that strikes me as very important is that this is a giant country, the U.S. Most of our countries are pretty damn big. And you're going to have people who are going to do mental, evil, criminal things in society. And they're going to have opinions, sometimes at variance with something that is anywhere close to you. Sometimes they might have thought at some point, I mean, rest assured, for example, that there are bank robbers out there who have thought and have said on their social media, and this is what I'm going to drive home over the course of this stream, your social media, what you're saying, what you're showing. When I say that we're white positive, that doesn't mean that you never, if you're white positive, you're not showing clip after clip of non-white people doing violence. That's white negative. That's not what we are. And indeed, showing clip after clip of non-white people engaged in violence is evidence to convict you. And we'll talk about a case where that happened. It happens all the time. But there are always going to be people out there. So there could be bank robbers out there, and you know there are, who have said on their social media and to their friends maybe that the border needs to be closed. No more of the whatever, fill in the blank, coming into our country, right? How invested were they in that statement is irrelevant. They're going to go out in the world. They're going to commit a crime. Maybe they'll commit a crime and the victim will be a non-white person. All of these instances offer the anti-whites within the anti-white narrative to say, this is proof of the anti-white narrative. You cannot succeed within the anti-white narrative by merely disavowing said individuals. You need to be in a completely different story. They will say what they're going to say. That's not your story. That's not our story. We don't own those people. We don't have to speak for them. We don't have to disavow them. We don't have to apologize for them. That kind of thing is going to happen. It is a very important, though difficult to understand, aspect of the method that is Go Free. The other day I broke down, on the stream, I broke down a set of concepts that are extremely difficult, and I broke it down to as few words as possible to make it accessible. And instead of, I mean, you all are grateful for that. Many of you already gathered these, whatever percentage of these concepts. And that's why you've ended up here. I mean, you were like coming to the same conclusions and you're like, oh my gosh, this is where I want to be. This is home. But there are other people out there who are newer. And instead of saying, well, that guy just really broke down something very complex that I can't understand to a point where I could get it. Instead of saying that, they were like, yeah, that's not hard to understand. Well, if it's not hard to understand, then why weren't you doing it? It's the fallen state of the white race at this point. Biden said America has long experienced a, quote, through line of hate, close quote, against non-white groups, never say minority. One that has been given, quote, too much oxygen by politics and the media in recent years. Quote, it's so important that we keep hollering, he said. It's so important for people to know that's not who we are. We know you're anti-white. The event also recognized communities that suffer hate-based attacks. And then goes through some examples of that. Again, we don't own any of those attacks. Those people are not of our ideology. They're not of our method. They're not of our story. They're of your story, anti-white. They're of your tale. They're of your fiction. They may have committed very real crimes within your fiction, but it's still your fiction. Hate crimes in the United States hit hate crimes. 12-year high, according to the data supplied by the ever-reliable FBI. Biden was introduced by Susan Bro, mother of Heather Heyer, who was killed during August 2017 white nationalist rally in Charlottesville. Quote, her murder resonated around the world. But the hate did not begin or end there, Bro said. Participants gave Biden a standing ovation when he said he wanted Congress to, quote, hold social media companies accountable for spreading hate. Quote, I'm calling on Congress to get rid of special immunity for social media companies and impose much stronger transparency requirements on all of them. Transparency. Tell us everything you know about the person on your platform. Give us all the data. You know they can already access the data. So what does it really mean? To my reading, it means make the data accessible to more and more anti-whites. Anti-whites in the streets. Anti-white thugs. So that they know where, for example, 2024, if it ends up being Donald Trump running, which I believe will announce that he's running, ends up being Donald Trump, you're going to have a lot of people supporting Donald Trump. Are we going to see Congress move to take away special immunity or threaten, and then these companies begin just by the tens of thousands, cutting people off from their accounts? Is that what we're looking at here? And then maybe providing the information on the users. You don't want to be part of that. We're going to be able to resist and white positivity, but you have to actually be white positive. You can't, show up or tweet every now and again that you're white positive, and then, 3 days later, 2 videos of non-whites committing violence and say something that's typical of white negativity with it. The White House had repeatedly called for revoking Section 230, a law that shields online companies from liability over content posted by users, and has also supported ramping up antitrust and transparency enforcement on technology companies. It's not going to be the transparency of, are you treating everybody fairly? White House event comes just weeks after Biden warned in a speech in Philadelphia that extremist Republicans. So what's an extremist Republican or a dissident Republican? It's somebody, and they might be placeholder Republicans as well as the regime Republicans. They might just as surely be placeholder, because look at this guy that we questioned up there in Massachusetts. I mean, if we could put Boebert on the spot, is Boebert going to say, and she's running for office again, I believe, is she going to say, if we can put her on the spot, absolutely, I oppose anti-whiteism, and I will indeed stand up for the well-being of white people? Is she going to say that? Because if not, she's just another placeholder Republican. She just has a little bit of a different sales pitch because she needs different people voting for her in the Republican electorate. All right. So she needs the guy who has the "Don't Tread on Me" bumper sticker to vote for him, because the sewing circle women are going to be voting for the establishment Republicans. But the extremist Republicans are just Republicans who are not obedient to the leadership in the Republican Party, which is vehemently anti-white. They're not obedient enough. So they're not true radicals or true dissenters or true mavericks. They're just not obedient enough. And so therefore they are extremists. Now remember, he used that same word extremist for terrorist, for white supremacy. The same word, extremist, for racist, for Nazi, uses the same word there. Remember, these are synonyms of evil for the anti-whites. Heresy for the anti-whites. Biden addressed criticism that the speech was divisive on Thursday. Now, how do you think a Republican would respond to, well, you have some criticisms here about your speech being divisive? This is what Biden had to say. Silence is complicity. We can't remain silent. There are those that say we bring this up, we divide the country. Bringing it up, we silence it. That's what he's saying. We have got to talk about heretics to anti-whiteism so that we can silence them. Biden announced a $1 billion push by anti-white philanthropists to build bridges among Americans of different backgrounds. What does that mean? And an initiative supported by foundations of former President Obama, Bush, Clinton, and Ford. That means non-white people to your white community. Now, maybe the majority of those people are going to be wonderful. And maybe one of them will pull your dog out of the swimming pool when your dog's drowning. But races are differentiated, in my opinion, by their biospirit. And that is, for those who are confused, another way to say instinct. And they create different cultures as a consequence. Different cultures are uncomfortable for everyone who isn't of the culture that's being represented at that moment. Anti-whites will make that argument as well all the time. Non-white people are uncomfortable in your Western world. Therefore, we have to destroy your Western world. And of course, they'll use different words like to be inclusive, to be nice, to be kind, to be considerate. Anything they can to get you to lower your guard and go along with your white erasure. Several big technology companies also joined in. YouTube said it was expanding its efforts to combat violent extremism by removing content glorifying violent acts. Is that really what we see getting removed? In fact, we in the white sympathetic sphere notice all the time that there are largely, unless they really go off the rails, two forms of resistant content that is totally permissible and indeed pushed on all of the platforms. And that is the utterly feckless and innocuous kind that you see in like a Bubba Brown that tells you you're too strong for the anti-whites to be able to do anything to you. So you just have a false sense of security. You do nothing. If you do something, then you seem like you're not secure. There's that kind of content that gets pushed, and they end up with massive channels and make money. And as a consequence of making money and getting sex partners from it, other people want to imitate it. That's the human animal. And the anti-whites know that. The other kind of content that gets to stay is the violent content. We notice that all the time. Somebody sharing the news, channel goes away. Somebody talking about things that are going on, and but they're doing it in a white negative way, channel goes away. Somebody talking about starting a militia and fighting the government, channel stays somehow. Microsoft said it was expanding use of artificial intelligence and machine learning tools to detect credible threats of violence and use gaming to build empathy. So what does that mean? You, the white race, will learn in the gaming that you are evil and that you have done the non-white races wrong, and that you have to be permissive and deferential when you and your people are harmed, because it's just really a righting of the scales. You have to be empathetic. Federal agencies also announced new initiatives. Attorney General Merrick Garland told the summit that, and here we have another example of these feckless dissident Republicans, that in office, there's nothing they can do. You have Green, this woman Green, supposedly this dissident Republican, MAGA Republican, America First Republican, and she wrote up articles of impeachment for Merrick Garland. And her followers thought, well, that's just wonderful. Yeah, she's not going to be able to do it. Well, what do you expect? There's so many bad people. Well, what I expect is for us to win, you dumb, dizzy, sewing circle bitch. That's what I expect. I don't want excuses. Green is not going to have any success attempting to make any laws or impeach any anti-whites. What she needs to be doing is using the key concepts at a minimum to empower the white race and people of all good racial backgrounds, all immutable characteristics, so that they can finally push back against anti-whiteism. That's the only thing that she and all of the dissident Republicans can do. It's the only thing, and by the way, it's the most powerful thing that can be done, because all the guns that you could amass, all of the fictional laser beams and tractor beams and invisible shields that don't exist, all of your little hideouts and bug outs and mausoleums you dig under the ground, all of the pickup trucks and sailboats and fishing spots that you write down on maps, all of that is utterly represents nothing but utter failure against anti-whites. They can defeat all of that. They've defeated it all already. There's only one thing they can't defeat, and it's the remedy to anti-whiteism, the Go Free method. We've proven it. There's no talking about it anymore. It's a fact. So the only thing that we can do now, think about this, really think about this. The only thing that we can do is also the most powerful thing that we can do. You could have 100,000 rounds for M60s, fully auto, which you wouldn't be allowed to have anyhow, lined up with robot brains around your house, and that's nothing. Attorney General Merrick Garland told the summit that all 94 U.S. attorneys, offices would work on a, quote, United Against Hate initiative over the next year to increase community understanding and the reporting of hate crimes and build trust between law enforcement and communities. So the way that this strikes me is that anti-whites in the seats, government, police departments, are going to attempt to make friends with the anti-whites in the streets by saying, we just need your help going after these white people who are not anti-white enough. Here's how we can work together. We have a common foe. This illusion of a common foe in the anti-white narrative is what keeps these disparate and, in many cases, mutually antagonistic groups appearing to be in accord. Another reason why we have to be in our own story. I was just at a meeting, dinner meeting. I'm going to show you this next from Carrie Pickett. And I'm learning about these other endeavors within the white sympathetic sphere that old, stupid men have invested a lot of money in. You wouldn't believe it. You absolutely wouldn't believe it. Maybe I'll share some of these things. There are other endeavors afoot. Boondoggles. Big brain trust boondoggles are afoot. And they've got, I guess maybe now, might even be up to over 100,000 more dollars committed to big brain boondoggles that have been done countless times. That's what we need. We need another brain trust to continue to tell us doom documenting, doom dissecting, doom divining. That's what we need. We need more of that. The old men, old stupid men who even Viagra doesn't do anything for. Raises their, makes the hair in their ears and nose a little stiffer, and that's it. People were looking at the purchase of this castle. How many of you all know the castle that was purchased in West Virginia, how that was purchased? A lot of people think that the castle was purchased because of the success of that organization. How many of you all know how it got purchased? I mean, I'm under the impression that it's semi-generally known. And I'll reveal it if it is semi-generally known. If it's not, if you know why, write it in the live chat or how it was. I cannot tell you all the sums of money that have been wasted. People specifically I can talk about the US because I can only imagine the same thing has been happening in other Western countries with people who are rich compared to us, but not compared to like Trump or whatever, but have dumped ungodly sums of money into endeavors that the money was just instantly squandered. I mean, we can all think of, for example, I revealed it on the air on live stream. Was it last year or the year before? That Derek Black, I hadn't revealed the name. I got pissed off enough. Was given, just because he was the son of Don, and he said he was white negative, and that appealed to folks specifically. And he was given, what was it now? Can anybody remember the sum? It was over $100,000. And then he immediately disavowed white sympathy and began squandering all the money in strip clubs. In my opinion, the same thing happened with the purchase of this castle. Let me see if anybody knows. Where's that document? Right. Franklin, Berkeley, West Virginia. I'll have you all say the names and then we'll... Who bought the castle in Berkeley, West Virginia? What group does he head? And let me bring this up on the screen. They're not doing this for you, by the way. Did Derek Black do this for you? Did Derek Black have 2 children named after him? Did Derek Black save anybody from suicide? Did Derek Black prevent people from going into jail? Did Derek Black help people make sound investments that have radically improved their lives, make decisions in their lives that have turned them around 180, from sickness to health, from loneliness to marriage and children? Has this guy done that? No. No. Just like this big brain endeavor. And yet again, people signing them up. Bass guitarist is here. Great to see you. And he properly names Peter Bremolo of VDare. So does Franklin. Okay. Does anybody know how much the castle cost? What is VDare? I mean, for a lot of these people have done good work here and there, within the needs of the body of an individual and the body of a people. You need to know the doom that's going on to a degree, because you need it to motivate you. You need to know what's going wrong, and you need to use the doom as a fulcrum to get to the promulgation of the key concepts that save people's lives, that are turning this around for us, right? You don't need the doom divining at all. And you don't need the doom dissection. You don't need to know where it all came from, the name of the particular, this intellectual or that intellectual. Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. Especially in light of what I talked about the other day with, you can't speak an opinion into the air for the white race that can be adopted by the white race, because you don't have a people from the outside. Internally, you do. Our mission is to make a people out of the deracinated race, that is the white race. But you cannot voice opinion that can become the opinion of a people, because you don't have one. So dissecting to the end of days, it won't matter. If everything that's anti-white came from a 5-line skink, a great big 5-line skink that lives within a volcano, and it's all provable and verifiable. Now, really follow me. This is silly, but follow me on this. If it all came from this, and you could document it from where it's interacting with you in a day-to-day and in our brothers and sisters, all the way back to the 5-line skink, the giant one that lives in a volcano. He's got a very big forehead. And you say, this is what he's doing to the white race. It won't matter. You don't have a people. More than half the white race will get together their resumes and CVs and mail them off to the skink. So you don't need to know where it came from. You just have to defeat it. Let's see, does anybody know how much the castle cost? Maybe not. If nobody ends up saying for sure, I'll just give a roundish number. Not for the cost, but for the single financial gift, which enabled the purchase. Could you imagine anything more selfish to do as a person who is concerned with the welfare of our brothers and sisters in this anti-white dystopian hell that gets worse every day, and much, much worse for our children, than to receive a colossal sum of money and then buy yourself a castle with it? Why wouldn't the person who does that be immediately ostracized for all time from the white sympathetic sphere? It's asking a question. I think it's a legitimate question to ask. It's a pretty damn selfish thing to do. Here's part of the reason why that's a selfish thing to do. Kerry Pickett, establishment reporter, tweeted this the other day. Quote, the demand for white supremacy, close quote, coming from FBI headquarters, quote, vastly outstrips the supply of white supremacy, close quote, said one FBI agent. Quote, we have more people assigned to investigate white supremacists than we can actually find, close quote. And you buy yourself a castle. You buy yourself a castle at a time when the president is saying this isn't enough. The FBI has more people, according to this FBI agent, according to Kerry Pickett, not me. So if you want to find error in the statement, then you can go and take her Twitter away, not me reading it. But according to her, and this is being picked up, so this is not some sort of obscure thing. I haven't seen any claim that this isn't true. But according to this, the FBI has more people investigating. This is just the FBI. There are many other law enforcement agencies. Do you think that they're going to be allowed to not produce all of the heretics to anti-whiteism as under the moniker white supremacist that the anti-whites in charge want, and thus will function as a proof for the anti-white narrative? I said earlier in the gathering that in the anti-white narrative, and white supremacists, quote, close quote, are everywhere. And the threat of white supremacy is always on the rise because this is a fiction. So that's how it can always be, always on the rise. So it's always on the rise. So if in the anti-white narrative, white supremacists are everywhere, and if white supremacy is always on the rise, then what will be the conclusion about FBI agents and other law enforcement if they just simply can't turn up white supremacists? It won't be that they don't exist. It'll be that these people are failing at their job. And so to keep their job, to get ahead, to get promotions, to get raises, to be able to go on that junket, have the government pay for your trip to Antarctica or Greece or wherever you want to go, what are they going to have to do? They're going to be looking for people like the defendants in the Arbery case. AP headline, FBI, according to the FBI, defendants in Arbery killing used repeated racial slurs on their social media. Two of the three white men convicted of murdering Ahmaud Arbery repeatedly used racial slurs in text messages and social media posts, including some violent comments by Arbery's shooter about black people. An FBI witness testified Wednesday in their federal hate crimes trial. FBI intelligence analyst Amy Vaughn, intelligence analyst Amy Vaughn, led the jury through more than 24 conversations that Travis McMichael and William Rhodey Bryan had with others, identified only by their initials, in the months and years before the 25-year-old black man's killing. The FBI wasn't able to access the phone of Greg McMichael because it was encrypted, lamented Vaughn. In text and Facebook conversations with friends, in text messages and Facebook conversations with friends, so out on social media, McMichael frequently used the N-word to describe black people. In Facebook conversations with a friend, he also shared a video of a young black boy dancing on a TV show with a racist song that included the N-word playing over it. So when I told folks back when a certain wannabe political group got started, and it's not just that group, there are many others, and I said that people have to be careful about this sort of lowbrow, sort of brain dead comedy will send you to jail. Well, I was right. And what good does it do? What good does it do you to show endless footage of non-white people behaving badly on your social media? You don't have a people, so people are not going to look at it and think, wow, we have to pull together. What good does it do to listen to a bunch of sick, brain dead, like the one guy told me who was a big fan of a certain show, it's great dick and fart jokes. Well, I'd find different dick and fart jokes. If that's your speed, then you better find some different ones, because listening to that and participating in that is just going to end up being the grounds. And I can hear it now, all these folks coming out and attacking me for this. But that's because I care about the people who are imbibing that material. Don't want them to go to jail. I don't want the chilling effect that's going to happen across the West when somebody gets into an argument with a non-white person, say, and then some sort of agency swings into gear. They look back through and they say, oh, well, you're actually a member, paywall member of this, and you've been paying these people who say these awful jokes all along. And so therefore, you are Hitler incarnate. And then we will treat you as such. He also said on his social media that black people, quote, black people ruin everything. And said he was glad he wasn't a black person. He wasn't using the word black. It just goes on with how these two guys had their media posts used against them, social media posts used against them. By what? You're looking at the screen. This is brand new. They can't find enough white supremacists. They are going to dilate the definition of white supremacist. You have got to be white positive 100%. And we've got to promulgate this as fast as we can, because being white positive 100% is only going to protect us for so long. The next layer of protection that we will need is enough white people at least knowing what the Go Free method is and knowing who the people are, knowing that we're good, that will protect us from arbitrary arrests and lifetime imprisonments in the future. We are white positive because that's who we are. That's what's in our heart. That's what we actually want. That's what harmonizes with the spirit of a healthy white person. We want to protect our people. We want everybody to live wonderful lives and make wonderful memories with their kids or nieces and nephews or grandkids, whatever it is. We want that for everybody. And we're putting our foot down and demanding it for us. Now, at the same time, we're going to build a people out of this deracinated race. That's an objective truth. But it won't avail us if our countries get to the point, or the Western country, not ours anymore, if these countries of the West get to the point where anti-whites in power have no concern whatsoever for the opinions of the millions of white people that are still in these countries. So the cure for anti-whiteism, the Go Free method, has to be promulgated as quickly as possible. This information is not meant to scare you. It's grave, and it's meant to galvanize you so that you know well in advance that you'll have nobody to blame but yourself if we don't get this to enough people in time for the anti-whites finally wondering, can we persecute this group that is focused on love, hope, and redemption and allows people of all immutable characteristics to participate in their struggle against anti-whiteism? Can we get away with it? Do enough people in the country not know who they are so that we can tell them who they are? Now you see why we have to work so hard. Did we ever find out any numbers? I'm going to get to your comments, questions, financial gifts, and pull that down. That song at the very beginning, by the way, is one of Fornall's newest. It's magnificent, really neat piece. All right, I'll just tell you, I won't give a specific number, but Peter Bremelo over at VDare received millions with an S on the end, and he bought a castle. I definitely consider that to be an extremely selfish thing to do. At any point, you know, if you feign to care about this country, Western civilization as a whole, and somebody gives you that kind of money, you are obligated. Nobody is saying you have to live in squalor or you have to drive a piece of junk, but buying a castle is a little much. Meanwhile, I don't have a pot to piss in, and many of you don't either. But we have the method that is correcting this phenomenon, this anti-whiteism. You got this other guy, 4 foot tall, 100-pound, confused guy, millionaire, for mascots. I'm going to put a bumper here so we can, very short bumper, 12 seconds. I'm going to come back, read your financial gifts, and we'll get to these comments in your live comments. All right, looks like we're blank over there on Cash App, so we'll jump here. And we already read the great Mrs. Jess Horse. Thank you, dear lady. Let's get out some 07s and raucous emojis for Montana Kid. Montana Kid has stepped up to the plate, and he swung for the fences, and it went over deep right center with a $50 financial gift. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. It's very meaningful to me. The meaning to me far outstrips the number of dollars. It's that appreciation that is said with the dollars. So $50 financial gift. Thank you so much. And he writes with it these inspiring words: "We will win this." Amen to that. And we have the great Slots here, financially gifting $3. Great to see you, good brother. Says, to the anti-white abstraction, quote, threat to democracy, close quote, my personal MC is our white humanity, comes before ideology. Defamation and targeting of white people is anti-white. I like it. I like that very much. Folks, if you want to see what's written here on Entropy, just follow the link in the description. You can pull that up on your phone, tablet, or desktop as well, and have a look. You could have both those screens up at the same time, see what's being written there. Thank you so much, Sloths. Personal MC is our white humanity comes before ideology. Defamation and targeting of white people is anti-white. Exactly. And thank you again, Montana Kid, a $50 financial gift and the inspiring words, "We will win this." All right, nothing over there at Odyssey, but great to see everybody. Let me jump here in the live chat and see what you all are saying. Bryce was saying here, the rest of it's cut off. I don't know what else you were saying, but he said here that he narrated the introduction of a boy named Buddy Smith to him. This is somebody he was speaking with, perhaps. He knew that what you presented was in no way founded in animosity against non-whites. Well, yeah, it's not. Kingdom of Inland says, what can we do about the gun situation, the self-defense situation, if anything, given that the anti-whites can track our purchases? Well, if you want to buy, if you want to buy and acquire tools for self-defense, I would just say if somebody were to endeavor to make it less obvious that they're buying a tool of self-defense, I would imagine what they would do is they would maybe over the course of a month or so pull out money here and there from their bank. Maybe I would imagine they might choose different sums as well, and keep it someplace very safe until the day of the purchase. That's what I imagine somebody would do. Otherwise, you're going to be. I myself, all of you, I know are going to make purchases from gun shops and gun dealers that are law-abiding, and that we intend to do law-abiding things with our right to self-defense, like just own them or just put them on the wall and admire them. Some of them are works of art. Use them for hunting. Use them for target practice and fun, just shooting at targets. And so that won't be a problem. But I'll say what I always say. If any law enforcement wants to talk to me, I'm going to tell them that I will happily, and indeed I will be happy about this, happily speak with them through an attorney, and may I have their card. And then I will repeat that in as many iterations as possible until I get their card or I have to end the conversation. Joe says, if where possible, I think we need to talk one day soon. I think we can help each other. All right, Joe, sounds good. And there's Carlisle right now. We gave you a big thank you earlier for gathering this information up for us. So I don't know if you were here or if you missed that. Or Kingdom of Inland says, I still get notifications for your videos, and that's fantastic. And that's the way it would work, because this is modeled, in my opinion, after the behavior of the. Well, let me rephrase. This is modeled utilizing the same understanding of psychology, human psychology, as was employed by the Stasi, so in East Germany. So what they don't want to not let the alert go to anyone, Because if that happened, then everyone would know with 100% certainty. And there's a difference between knowing that something's 100% the case and knowing that that's happening kind of behind the curtain, and knowing something is 100% the case that's in front of the curtain. So if nobody got the alerts, then the whole lie, the whole facade of there being any free speech on YouTube would immediately collapse. So what they have to do is they allow it to go to some. The impression that they want to give, and the argument becomes believable, is that, well, people just don't want to hear. They're just not interested. They don't like you. And they know that people out in the body of people, in the body of users of YouTube and other social media, could make that argument and could reasonably come to that conclusion. Maybe you're just not liked. You have people showing up. So those are just the people who like you. Right? Nobody else does. Nobody else would. So that's how this works. Psychological warfare. But I'm glad that you are one of the ones that are still getting it. Bryce is saying that ought to consider talking with Dr. Duke and curtail his use of, quote, racist. Well, the problem is that there are many out there with the extremely flawed, and I've defeated the argument more times than I care to admit. They're of the opinion that you can take a concept used by your victimizer and turn it around on them. And I've made the argument successfully so many times that I've developed contempt for those who continue to make the argument, and very little patience for them, especially when I've made the argument there, it's on the table. Now you have to make an argument that overcomes what I just said, but they don't. They just fall back on the defeated argument that they came with. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I certainly have made the argument enough times that I know he knows. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's forgotten. But it's at this point, it's actually unconscionable to me that anybody could still attempt to use the concepts, especially the one that destroyed the Western civilization. If in an imaginary universe, if the West absolutely succumbs, the white race never is able to recapture our destiny, and then arguably China comes to dominate the planet, their historians will absolutely state that it was the concept racism that defeated the West. That is the central pillar. So you simply cannot. It's like imagining that you can use the concept that defeated us against the victimizer is like being a 7-year-old child being sexually abused by an adult and imagining that you can use the greater size and strength of your adult victimizer against him or her. That is how inane the position is. Why is that the case? Why is that a perfect analogy? Because the definition of racist that is functional, that matters, is in the minds of the people that compose the population. They know by way of the totality of their lives, primarily by entertainment media, exactly what it means, even though consciously they could interrupt that awareness and the knowledge of what it really means to say that anybody could be racist. You're dealing then with a superficiality of human thinking. Just like you can say that you can't drive a car, you can aver that in a group of people, and you still are able to drive the car. So it's the real definition is still in their minds and operates to control and dominate. So therefore, the use of that word is in the body of the anti-white, just like the size and strength is in the body of the child molester, not the child. Dave is here. Great to see you. Buscape is here. Horatius is here. Great to see everybody. I hope more and more. Ursa Major is here. Cool Papa is here. Great to see you. Want more and more folks to show up. And Artificer, great to see you, good brother. Rory is here. Elvis is here. Artificer, actually, I just got your email, and I'll be responding to that email. I'm not going to say anything at the moment, but thank you so much, brother, and I'll be checking the snail mail. Summer Lee is here. Great to see you. Jung is here. Is that what it is? Andrew is here. JC is here. If you have questions for me, or comments or what have you, be respectful if you disagree, and the troll slayers will let it be, but tag me. There's no white guilt. We just had a financial gift come in from Kara Bassett. Great to see you. Thank you so much. And financially gifting $3 US. God bless you. And then it looks like, did you write a number 10 in the place where you could put a message? I'm not sure what that means. You don't have to financially gift again. You could, since you're on Entropy, you could write into that question widget what that means, or if you wanted to write something else. But thank you so very much. And it's great to see you again. $3 US. All right, we're going to start off with a couple of big ones here by Renol White Wolf. Had financially gifted a couple of weeks ago, and I said I would get to this. And I'm a man of my word. Financially gifted, and had said, I tipped you on Subscribestar, and I went over there, and that indeed had happened. Says, and so if you do tip me on Subscribestar during a gathering, during a show, like Jason Goes Political, you have to let me know somewhere, because I don't have that up running. I can pull it up, though, and see if you did. So that's no big deal. Just let me know. And said here, please give us some meme curatives for reaching friends who are MGTOW, finding white positive women and reaching out to women vagues. That's a really great question. And I'll have to look to see what specifically, because the meme curatives, there are general meme curatives, as you know from the book. And a meme curative, if you're new, you don't know what it is the opposite of a meme pathogen, anti-white ideas that we are infected with over the course of our lives that undermine us. Meme curatives empower us. When it comes to the MGTOW guys, you have friends who are in MGTOW. There are a lot of good guys who have been drawn into MGTOW to their detriment, ultimately, if not immediately. But the reason why is because there are a lot of content creators over there that are not just talking about hardships for men and the way things are hard for men, but also teaching things like how to take advantage of vulnerable women and advising guys to just build their personal wealth and video game, and nothing wrong with building personal wealth, but build your personal wealth, video game, essentially get prostitutes for a girlfriend here or a girlfriend there, or a sex opportunity here or there, and then just go out and do your own thing. Your life's going to get, if you're white, male, your life isn't going to get any better, and society is just going to continue getting worse. And so that's something that you need to share with your friends who are in MGTOW, that yes, the world is in a wretched state, but it is in a wretched state because of anti-whiteism. And you can understand that wretched state by understanding anti-whiteism. There's actually a method called the Go Free method that overcomes that wretched state of anti-whiteism. Where there's knowledge, there's power. And increasingly, our women, white women are out there, are being victimized by anti-whiteism because they're not needed as much as they were in the past to undermine the white family. And so they are increasingly number-wise and emotionally wise for each individual woman, a growing need to find security somewhere, to find health and happiness somewhere, safety somewhere. And what we don't need are men or males who find these women, take advantage of them in their fear, and then move on. That's a despicable thing to do. It's a cowardly thing to do. You will know when you look at yourself in the mirror, even if you're able to look at yourself in the mirror, that you're a piece of shit. And you won't be happy with that. In fact, the reality is, and that what we teach in the Go Free method, is that once you come to understand that within you is the spirit of the West, and that you in and of that have infinite value, and that you can be better in all ways in your life, physically, mentally, and spiritually. That, of course, will make you more attractive to women, by the way, but that you can be better in all ways. And once you come to appreciate that there is this spirit of you, and that you can then begin to hear the voice of the spirit of the West, not a literal talking voice, but you come to hear it as a more than a feeling. As you go free of the anti-white narrative, you'll realize that there is glory in that service that outstrips everything else in this material world. A lot of people end up thinking that a particular religion is doing that for them, but it's not a religion that's doing that for them. We've had a lot of religions in the West. It's not to say that there isn't a religion out there that isn't the one true religion either. I'm not saying one way or the other, but I'm saying that there is a coming to grips with and a facing that which is the only thing in the universe that has the right to claim your life. That is the spirit that brought you forth. For us, it's the spirit of the West. And we know that it's in all of us who are white by way of our projection onto our environments, which in their aggregate is Western culture and Western civilization. You will come to appreciate that this driving for glory by way of that spirit satisfies you for all physical, emotional, and spiritual and mental needs. When you begin to truly move in that direction, none of us ever become perfect in that sense, but we can face the right direction. And when we move in the right direction, you become increasingly attractive to the woman of your desires. And so that's what I would share with these guys, if they would care to hear. It's a great question. I wish I had more time, White Wolf, but I'm going to move on to your other, which is also another great one. Says, I've a request for a future stream. Please address talking about anti-whiteism with deeply MP-infected Christian family members who refuse to acknowledge the destruction of the West as anti-whiteism and always explain it away as, quote, spiritual battle, quote, man's fallen nature, and, quote, end times. If you've already addressed this in depth, please let me know which stream. I really struggle with talking to my Christian relatives about this. I'm not against Christians, but the universalism and determinism concern me. For every white person, Christian, it seems there are far more, white positive Christian, it seems there are far more that don't acknowledge race. Thanks, and it was an honor and inspiration meeting you at Yiz's picnic. I hope you attend her other events sometime. I hope to attend those events as well. She's a true champion, an amazing person. It's the question that you have is a lot of Christians face this. And depending upon what specific argument they're making, I drive home the point that everything they love and care about is being destroyed and will continue to be destroyed until Western kind faces anti-whiteism and contends with anti-whiteism. When they say things like it's a spiritual battle, I tell them that they're cowards. When they say that there are end times, I tell them they're cowards. And I tell them the truth, that their God hates them. I just hit them with it right in the face. No God, no creator, Christian or otherwise, is going to look at disciples and look on them lovingly and proudly, who sit on their laurels and beg like children for the Creator to do everything for them. So with some of these people, you'll be able to reach them by being really direct. And in others, it will have to be a continual reminder that Christianity grew not by the God stepping out of the clouds and wiping out the enemies of Christendom, but by Christians advancing the belief system and defending the belief system. Now, if they want to believe, say, for example, that, everybody is, God would want everybody, as I've seen preached at far too many churches, God would want everybody to just reproduce together and biologically white erase us. My argument has always been that the Creator made us the way we are because he wanted us the way. Why did he make a mistake? Has the Creator made a mistake that you can now fix? So, and if you have a pastor who is saying something opposite than that, I would leave that church. And I would tell those family members that they're not receiving the Christian doctrine at that church. They're receiving anti-whiteism. They're receiving the Christian doctrine through the lens of anti-whiteism. Is this what was preached in churches 200 years ago, 500 years ago? Was God wrong then and right now? So one of the most powerful things I've said is to Christians, especially males, is whose God do you want to win? And that really startles them. Just you put it to them very direct, very straight. Whose God do you want to win? And in my experiences, they've said, well, I want Jesus Christ to win. And then I say to them, well, you better get off your ass. And he hopes you get off your ass too. Because if you don't get off your ass, then it's going to be somebody else's God. And then you'll be walking around as a coward with the excuse of, well, God must want to punish us. So those are my approaches in many cases, but it really, obviously, with all things, it depends on who you're talking to and how light or stern of a touch you could employ. I want Andrei Moisejev, the musical genius, who is creating a symphony for my book, Prometheus Rising, which is didactic. I rewrite the character of Prometheus. There are some similarities. It's didactic. It teaches us about our race, our people, and in a spiritual way. And he has a new channel called Ohymn, OHYMN, on YouTube, of course. You can follow him there. He's producing marvelous music. And he says here, Prometheus Rising Part 2 is in progress. I have a few unrelated works that I'm uploading until then. I adopted a new artist name that's easier to pronounce and remember going forward. Once I settle some things I'm building in the background, I will also be in good rhythm to have parts 3 and beyond readied with greater efficacy. Well, that is marvelous, isn't it? What a true champion. That's what white positivity, the Go Free method, Prometheus Rising indeed draws, that kind of person. A person who can actually write a symphony, right? And not just like somebody claiming. We've already heard some of this guy's truly professional works. So God bless Andrei Moisejev at Oh Him. We have Rock Dad, and I'm going to see what you all are saying in the live chat as well, back and forth. Rock Dad says, Crystal Meth Matthews and the Dope Boys live on stage tonight featuring their new hit single, quote, White Man, Be Gone. Talking about Crystal Matthews. Oh, she loves them white peoples down in South Carolina, doing my southern accent. Buddy Duddyful writes 95. I suggest we flood the chats with 95, the 9 words and 5 concepts, considering as there's a large number of antnats who really like to share 4 numbers, 2 of which are inside of another group's story. Random 95s in the chat is a good way to start the conversation. Who started 95? Does anybody know? The 9 words, atonement cannot be made for a grievance never committed, and the 5 key concepts. Who started that? We should find out and celebrate who was the very first one. And everybody now who's pushing it. Thank you, Buddy Duddyful. All right, let's see what you all are saying. Rory says, my wife was listening to a woman named Lady C on YouTube today, and she used the term anti-white. Is that so? She has a huge following, so your message is spreading. Well, that's wonderful. That's really great news. That is. And look, Fernald right there. Fernald's like, that's great. Yeah, all the champs know. All the champs know when the good things are happening. All right. And everybody who's here, if you want to make a comment and you don't want, remember the troll slayers, the moderators, they're going to be nice. They're going to tell you if you write something that may be a threat to the channel, or you write something that is at odds with white positivity, they're going to ask you not to do it again, and they're going to delete that comment. Don't take it personal, especially if you're learning. You're just like, oh, okay. I mean, the human animal, the way we learn is by our errors. We really have to develop, when we recapture our destiny, we have to develop a whole new view of making errors. It's never wrong to make errors. It's just wrong to keep doing what's in error. So don't take that personally. We also are not, if you're going to show up, what we have here is a method that's been proven that we continue to increase the potency of. And so if you are from elsewhere in the white sympathetic sphere and you are used to everybody showing up and sharing their own quirky ideas about what's going on and what's going to happen and that sort of thing, that really doesn't happen here. So if you share something, that's kind of innocuous, they might just ignore it. But when you really start making a case about something, they might step in and say, hey, we don't do that here. No need in trying to persuade people that 5-line skink is sitting in a volcano somewhere. We've got this figured out, and will you please just listen, participate, ask questions, and learn for a month or 2. And if you like the Go Free method, then beautiful, you stay. If you don't, then you can head back out into the hinterland of the internet and share all of the ideas that you would like there. Looks like Kara Bassett has shown up. She says donation was meant to be $10. I will make up the difference. Well, thank you so much. $3 was more than enough, but I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That is Kara Bassett over on Entropy. We're going to keep moving here, folks. And we're going to get through these wonderful comments, and yours if you have any. We have over here on Cash App. Let's see. Alice. Thank you so very much, Alice. Financially gifting $3 and saying with those wonderful $3, she writes, for the future purchase of the Going Free Castle. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. The future purchase of the Going Free Castle. No, I can guarantee you, if somebody gave me a couple $1 million, I would not purchase a castle. The kind of things that would happen for us if somebody gave me a couple $1 million would, or maybe I guess you could think of it as selfish in a different way, because I want nothing more than to protect us from the victimization of of anti-whiteism, victimizing Western kind and Western civilization. So that's where I would be putting the money, and people would have jobs. It would be, could you imagine how absolutely epic, how things would really just start happening on a much bigger scale, obviously, be able to reach people, who that could have never been reached before. That would be something. But yeah, to put a castle under my ass, that's got a little egocentric. Why do people like that get money? The other little one got massive donations, up now a millionaire. Why is it that these people who are just totally concerned with their wealth and how many people think that they're smart, and that, why do people come and give them money? I don't understand it. Buddy Duddy Full, and now we have Ardent White, and she was here, maybe she still is. She says, in my experience practicing how to use the lexicon, it seems that 80%, if not more, of the anti-whites and their anti-white arguments can be completely and easily shut down using just the 5 key concepts. If only I could see the look on their faces when they find out you've written multiple books and teach from them online to everyone who is willing to stand up against anti-whiteism. The average anti-white, no matter how big shot they try and act while they insult Western kind, ends up running like a coward once they realize that they cannot stand against the concepts, and it is hilarious. Thank you! Exclamation point. That's fantastic. I might have to share this one around across social media. Our social media is a wonderful testimonial. Thank you so much for that. Ardent White. Let's see. Davey says at 30 minutes, 11 seconds. Excellent summation, sir. Anti-whiteism will continue to poison our future until we stand up and make our voices heard. This means calling out anti-whites and anti-whiteism by name at all times, without exception. There are no substitutions for those terms. This shouldn't be hard to understand. Thank you for driving this point home once again, brother. Well, I really appreciate that, Davey. Yeah, we still got people trying to, there are people, this is really nuts. Fornal, didn't you just respond to somebody on Twitter or something that said, what we need our own vocabulary. There were 2 people who know me, know of the Go Free method, know of its success, and they were having a conversation. I'm not going to say who and when and where. You know them. They were having a conversation. They were actually saying, what we need is our own lexicon. Question Everything in the live chat says, this is a hot take, but honestly, I feel like this new, quote, Christian question has entered pro-white and right-wing spheres recently, and in my opinion, it's another fake purity spiral. I'm Christian. It is. The Christian nationalism has recurred many times, even in my life in the white sympathetic sphere, and before my life, it's recurred in the white sympathetic sphere. It is a it's a natural thing for human beings to turn to spirituality when things are getting bad. And it's come at times under that name, but at times under other names, but that's what it was. It always fails. And even in better times, it failed. So think about that. And right now, with Christianity plummeting in the United States, scheduled to not be, I guess, it lose its dominant status in the United States, they're saying by 2045, and obviously will be earlier than that. They want to put it off to make you feel safe. So it's probably at least 10 years sooner. But it always ends up failing because of all the different interpretations of Christianity, and even though you think your interpretation is and it might be your interpretation might be the right one. And I don't mean you question everything, but every Christian out there. Bottom line is there are a lot of disputable interpretations, and ultimately you end up, you already have this problem with so many Christians. I mean, I don't know, tons and tons of Christians who have come to believe that another race of man is God's favorites. And when those people show up and they claim to be Christians, they could be, those individuals could be anti-whites, and they obviously don't end up leading these Christian endeavors anywhere healthy for white people, even if by their interpretation of Christianity, it's working exactly the way Christianity is supposed to work, right? So it simply can't. It simply cannot work. But what does work is that Kara Bessett has financially gifted $7 more and made it to 10. Thank you so much. And writes, exciting days. Yes. Well, yeah, they can be. Very often they can be. They can be discouraging at times, but exciting also. Thank you so much for that $10 financial gift. I really appreciate it. And I thank you for making the second effort with the $7. Anglo-America said, I'd love to meet you IRL. Well, we'll make it happen, man. We will make it happen. It's so funny because, like I've talked about here before many times, everything was IRL before the internet. And so when people make the argument about like, he's just on the internet. If he were out there IRL, then he would be legit and things would be getting done. Well, did it get done? Did it get done when it was IRL? I mean, these arguments are so easily just defeated. That's another problem with our people right now. Everybody thinking that everybody's opinion on every subject is the exact same. I'm going to tell you what, if somebody I love has to have brain surgery, I'm not going to give any advice. Zero. I'm going to involve myself in the process. I'm going to want to know exactly what's happening and being done. I'm going to educate myself, but I'm not going to tell. I'm going to find the best surgeon or surgeons, and then they're going to have at it. Like I say, let me get in there. And, I read about this the other night on the internet. Here we have Renault White Wolf is here. Great to see you. Thanks for addressing my questions. I will financially gift again too. Well, I appreciate that. You're most welcome. I use the word anti-white with my white sympathetic black coworker at my second job talking about white erasure. Awesome. Yeah, do it. They'll start using, I have had non-white coworkers, acquaintances, friends, I've had them start, when they speak to me, end up saying when I say when they speak to me, because I don't know when they're not around me, but when they speak to me, they're like, yeah, this other thing I saw was anti-white. So, and it also is a powerful way to say to them, hey, it's cool that we can be friends or coworkers or colleagues or acquaintances or whatever it is. But what's not cool is if you're going to be anti-white. I'm not going to be trashing on your people. You're not going to trash on mine. Don't come in here telling no blonde jokes or Polish jokes or anything like that. Don't come in here talking about white people are bad or this or that. I object to anti-whiteism. This is why I don't have problems. Other people get in these very weird situations with other folks and they get very nervous. And I mean, the nervousness can still happen, but Lacey writes here, no white guilt. It is think generationally. Easy for me to say. Thank you for that. I'm not. What were you referencing? Was I saying something? Think generationally. Fernell says we could put up much bigger bounties for videos like the one Clips made. Yes, I do want to talk with somebody though, and I'm going to bring this up tomorrow. I want to speak with several people who are knowledgeable about the law when it comes to doing something like that. That and producing material, political material. So if you know somebody that is in campaigns, have run campaigns, especially if they are a lawyer specializing in political campaigns, one or two or more might be valuable to speak with. But yes, thank you for that. Franklin is telling somebody, John Doe, to tag me. So you'll have to tag me, John Doe, or Franklin may just grab your comment and paste it in with a tag. All right, I'll turn back to this. We have the horror experiment is up next. How long have we been going? Oh, over 2 hours. We'll try to wrap it up here soon. The horror experiment says the best thing about you, or best thing about your work, isn't that you point out anti-whiteism, but that you break down the psychology of anti-whiteism, which is under-acknowledged. Keep it up, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. That might be another one to share more broadly, because we do break it down, because we understand it. I've been working on it for a year or two. Let's see. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Experiment. Susan of Hull Humberside writes, great stream, Jason. I note that anti-white racist and anti-white racism are the terms currently in vogue. I always say anti-white and anti-whiteism in conversation. However, the reply is, quote, you mean anti-white racism? And this is because of the community that she's talking in here. I reply, no, just anti-white and anti-whiteism. What is going on here over the internet is possibly the oligarchs that victimize us are encouraging and, in fact, uncensor anti-white when it is firmly locked with the suffix racism, making sure the two words are fused and locked. It doesn't help that Dr. Duke has been telling people to not use anti-white, but they must say, quote, anti-white racism, as it is more powerful, according to Duke. So, and that's what I wanted to ask folks, if anybody else had heard that, because I've gotten a couple messages. Thank you, Susan. A couple messages like that from folks about Duke. If we find out more, then let me know. Beekeeper says this about me. The No White Guilt show is solid. Great insights, Jason and team. Appreciate the hard work and this show. We definitely need to rattle up Westman. It's getting very late in the situation. Keep grinding. Amen. I appreciate that. Sluggo says, good job, Jason. I especially like the replacement of self-defense for, quote, gun rights. I think you are totally correct when you say that the words self-defense elicit a visceral feeling that is always working in our subconscious, ready to jump forward and be of use. Quote, gun rights is something that has to actually be thought about. Precisely. Thank you for that, brother. Pearl Lady. Hello, good lady. She says, really enjoyed this stream, Jason. What a sad and sorry state of affairs we have going on in the West. Thanks for giving us all a lot of great information and knowledge. I listen to this channel to help me stay motivated and positive, because otherwise it would be all too easy to sink into a deep depression over these things, or be like my brother and be apathetic. Yeah, apathy is caused, Pearl Lady, and you can bring him out of that. It's caused by trying to tackle things, trying to overcome things that are not yours to overcome. So, for example, the controlling the monetary system in the United States, or getting the next politician elected. That's not for you to do. What your brother can do, though, and that causes apathy, causes despair. What you can do is you can begin changing your own thoughts with the Go Free method. You can begin changing the thoughts and concepts being used by others around you. And the more of these victories that you have, that are real, very tangible victories, the more it motivates you to move forward, to go further. So to be like Groundhog Fury and to make marvelous these works of art, and work with different groups of our people here in the white positive sphere, and just be a true champion. And as you can see, it all gains steam. And then when you're doing this, you know that you can put your shoulder into the efforts that other people have their shoulder against, and then you see we get even bigger things done. So that's motivating. The rest of the white sympathetic sphere, like when you're here in the doom documenting, dissecting, and divining, you're being given information that you can't do anything with, except despair or have the grossest story. And so, yeah, try to reach your brother that way and get back with us. Let's see. Toilet, is that bread? Says, I hear these words, a strong message, great analysis of where we are. What I do not see is any action, says Toilet. He says, I'm also to blame. This message and those who agree with it have no way to congregate. Any attempt to coordinate meetings online is either censored or completely glowing with counter-intel federal agents that hate you. So my question to you is, Jason, is this simple question, quote, what are you doing, all caps, to push your objective? Well, Toilet, I'm glad you asked. I don't have a lot of time to talk about it, regrettably, because we've been here for a long time anyhow. But I can see an error in your thinking that is evident in your question, and that is that getting together in person is going to be some sort of requirement at present to accomplish something much larger than that. And that's simply not the case. Getting together in person can be a wonderful thing. IRL get-togethers. Going free clubs, for example, can get together and go bowling. And while together, they'll have a good time. They'll build friendships. They'll be using the lexicon and growing in that strength. By using the lexicon of the Go Free method, they will access increasingly their physical, mental, and spiritual potential. As that happens, others in their lives will see them improving, becoming smarter, fitter, healthier, etc. All of these things are very easy to understand. There's no mystery to that. When you have pernicious ideas running around in your head that dominate 90% of your thinking because it's in the subconscious mind, that negativity has a deleterious effect. You can ask any doctor, any fitness coach, has a deleterious effect on every aspect of your life. You have to address these. More people will be drawn, and as they receive the lexicon, they too will begin to go free. And we build momentum. New things become possible. What are we doing? Well, you obviously are asking that question as a newbie, because if you have been here for any period of time, you'll see that we make a great effort in a great many ways to get the message of Go Free, and indeed to get the concepts themselves, especially the 5 key concepts, into the mouths and minds and pens and keyboards of our brothers and sisters, and those who can reach more of our brothers and sisters. We work harder. Some people work by themselves doing it. Some people work by themselves in coordination with others working by themselves. Some people work in groups. One of the best known, of course, is the outreach team. We buy ad space. We talk to all of our friends and family and neighbors, something that you can't do with other approaches and vehicles in the white sympathetic sphere. Indeed, I'll end it with this. There is a gentleman, a good friend of mine in the white sympathetic sphere, that is very proud of his pitch, very proud of the way he talks about our situation. He's a bright guy. He's got a smooth tongue. And yet he told me not too long ago about how they keep it a secret from all their neighbors. If you have to keep it a secret from your neighbors, and your neighbors are white people, by the way, just ordinary white folk, if you have to keep it a secret from all of them, not rabid anti-whites, they don't have like the rabid anti-white this or that out in the front yard, and they wear balaclavas to and from work. I mean, just ordinary white people. If you can't tell them your method, your ideas, then you've got the wrong method and the wrong ideas. Because I can talk about white well-being with everybody, neighbors, strangers, anybody. I immediately talk about anti-whiteism. You know why things are this bad? It's because of anti-whiteism. Doesn't matter. They don't have to agree with me. They then hear it, and then for them, it becomes a reality in the world. So indeed, we are doing infinitely more than anyone else in the white sympathetic sphere, because every participant becomes an agent of change. You can't say that about a group of people who are claiming that an event in history didn't happen. You can't claim that about a group of people that want to talk about being a craven and going and hiding in top of some mountain for some final showdown. You can't tell your friends, family, strangers, boss, colleagues, parents at the kids' soccer game, that kind of shit. So that's what we're doing. And I invite you, stick around for a couple months and maybe change your name. That's not the best online name to have. And change your name and stick around for a couple months, see if everything I'm saying here is not true. And then you'll be able to be a much better you in the coming months and years and get much more done for our people than you ever thought imaginable. And if you don't like us, then like I tell everybody, then we just invite you to go back to the hinterland and enjoy whatever endeavor is of your choice. Mike Skywatcher says, like was said last week, this is the best political show in America. He's talking about Jason Goes Political. Like was said last week, this is, all caps, by the way, this is the best political show in America. You all better listen to NWG. Or do cucks prefer slow torture into South Africanization? Well, that's actually a very powerful point. And thank you for that, Mike. Brandon says, wow, how did it get to the point where a politician will ramble on and on about non-white races, calling them by name, yet the same politician is deathly afraid to do the same for white people? What a coward. The dumb lady clutching her pearls is a good example of how we got here. Yeah, he's talking about that lady that's in the background when the glorious champion Clips is asking this Jeff Deal about, do you care about white people? And she says, oh my God. I mean, it's so despicable. She really deserved to be slapped, metaphorically. Deserved to be. I mean, but we'll find out from Clips whether or not it's a white female, or she's anti-white, obviously. But obviously, we have to say, because it's so powerful. Could you imagine if a black person came up and said, "Do you care about black people?" Do you think this woman would have said, "Oh my God"? Think if a Jewish guy came and said, "Mr. Deal, do you care about Jewish people?" You think she would say, "Oh my God, it's so inappropriate." So we're going to be the people who change. We are the people who are changing that. And I'll hold it for now. But I mean, there are people talking about this incident, going out of their way to not mention us. Do you need any more evidence that these limp-dicked cowards are just but nothing but jealousy for yours truly and all of you and all the good we're doing. Do you need any more evidence? Can you imagine talking about this and then like, no, don't say it. It just happened. It's just like random thing, random event. All right. Buddy Duddy saying, Jeff Deal got destroyed. The Go Free method made him appear immoral and to look, feel, and act like a coward. Buddy Duddy Fool. That's brilliant. That's actually brilliant. It absolutely did. That's the power. You know, go back to toilet. You're wondering what can you do to get this out there? Well, when your lexicon, when the concepts you use make the person you're conversing with, if it's an anti-white person, look immoral and then look like a coward, you're in the right place. Jeff Deal got destroyed. The Go Free method made him appear immoral and to look, feel, and act like a coward. It really did. Well said. James said here, and I'll go back to the live chat. He said, Jason, 2 things made me incredibly angry today. The first was on PWR, when the teacher said that white boys are encouraged to be bin men, that's trash men here in the U.S. I almost leapt out of my seat in disgust. This hurt me very deeply. Now this Republic coward who dodges saying that he cares about his own race while a woman gasps. What a sick society we have, surrounded by cravens. Yeah, absolutely. That is the truth. Very well written. And so what's happening is obviously every job in the West that maintains our society and civilization is maximally important, and that includes the people who involved in waste management. Of course, what would the streets and everything look like with your homes, your neighborhoods, your wildlife? People would just begin dumping in the wild. I mean, it would be destroyed. Waste management, extremely important, very honorable thing, work for a living, and especially in that kind of job, because you know that they're having to put up with odor. They're having to put up, so it's a malodorous day to work in waste management, and it takes a strong person to be able to do that. Having said that, when it comes to our children, you want to have their aspirations be the stars. Next to none of us are going to get to the stars. We're all going to be somewhere. And so, but you say, you got the talent, you got the smarts, you can make it happen. And I'm going to make sure that you develop habits to make the most of who and what you are. In the UK, what this teacher was sharing with us on PWR is that they teach these 10-year-olds about jobs that they can be when they grow up, and every non-white race and females are all depicted, and they're put in a variety of jobs. And then the white little boy depicted as a trash man. So specifically singling out the white children present for something short of the stars. Let me see what you all are saying. Looks like didn't miss anybody on entropy. We're almost going to wrap up here. Just got a couple more to get to. Take a look at Cash App. Art Acrobat says, was that No White Guilt Clips that asked the question? You mean with the politician? It was indeed. No White Guilt Clips. And all the cool kids, as the great Fornell says, knows him as Clips. Rory's saying, what was the movie where the actress sang I'm Blonde? Blond. And left the E off? I don't know. Pants is here. Great to see you, brother. All right. Didn't see anything else here. Maybe this. Oh, I see. Now, John Doe was asking, what are the biggest successes of the Go Free methodology and its propagation? The biggest successes. Well, I mean, I think I've shared. We're not going to be able to. Obviously, people on the way to suicide is huge because it's a very personal and turning away from suicide. 9 of them admitting to it live. There are more than that. They're just not. It takes a lot of bravery to admit that. But we have forever changed all of Western civilization by introducing. It's now in. I mean, there's a lot more work to do, but we have introduced key concepts that undermine anti-whiteism, the ideology that defeated Western civilization. You think about all of the efforts to defeat the West. Nothing did it until anti-whiteism. And now we have introduced the cure, the remedy, the thing that defeats it. It works in various languages that we as a people speak. It works everywhere it comes in contact with anti-whiteism. There's nothing like it. And that, of course, there can be nothing bigger than that. Because to succeed with that, to promulgate that, is every life, is the reclamation of all that is ours and who we are and our destiny, and every new son and daughter of the West, and every new genius in our people, creator, inventor, that betters their lives and ours and enables us to go further, farther, and faster and overcome all things that seek to overcome us. I mean, it's all of that. It's all of the Beethovens and Plancks and Copernicuses and everything yet to come that will be because we were here and did this. So it's incalculable. It's inestimable. The great Nathan Lentini is here, folks. And this gentleman, our champion, says, man, those answers from Jeff Deal are absolutely inexcusable, saying, quote, that's inappropriate to someone's legitimate concern for their people. Think about how atrocious that is. Talk about being slapped in the face. He's saying it's inappropriate for us whites to care about ourselves. Wow, that is really unbelievable and shows the horror and depth of anti-whiteism. Like Jason says, imagine the outrage of any other group being told their concern for their kind is, quote, inappropriate. This guy is an absolute bastard with horns until he is forced to be white positive. He should be ashamed to high heaven by every white person out there until he changes, if he has the cojones. Amen. That's very well written. Thank you, brother. That is fantastic. Beautifully said. We have another from Pearl Lady, it looks like. She says, I know anti-whiteism has been going on for decades, but it's still kind of amazing to me when I see people like this Deal guy, Republican of Massachusetts guy, speak the way he did in the clip. One would think, seeing as white people are a huge chunk of people in the country, it would be absolutely appropriate to speak out on support for them specifically. It's such a tragedy what's happened to the West. It's incredible how absolutely brilliant and amazing white people have been since people existed, and now so many are cowards and brainwashed sheep. I'm so happy I discovered Jason's channel and the Go Free method. God bless you, lady. Thank you so much for that. Victorian Time Traveler, and then I think we've got just one more from Lovely Porridge to wrap this up. Victorian Time Traveler says, hey, Jason, I would like some advice on what is the best way to invite someone to come join the white well-being community. I'm involved in a discussion on iFunny and some libertarians, and one guy is 90% there. Or sorry, with some libertarians, and one guy is 90% there. He likes the term biospirit, and I think he would take to the lexicon like a fish to water. Well, a great way to invite somebody to come over and check out what we're doing is to talk about what we're doing the same way you would talk about something positive that you wanted to get any of your other friends to go to. You're going to talk about it's fun, it's illuminating, it's easygoing. There's laughs, there's anger, there is, you share the positives and you just throw it out there. And I think it'd be fun if you come over and hung out sometime. Don't like put them on the spot. Be like, here's the day, and then you can remind them like the day, like, hey, this is going to be going on this time. I'll shoot you the URL just in case you're interested. But then don't like afterwards say, why didn't you show up? Something like that. You could definitely follow up and say, hey, were you able to make it over there and catch it? It ended up being a great show. Did you catch any of it? And so you be lighthearted about it, and it's kind of like fishing, right? You're fishing, and you're just trying to get the fish to bite, and you don't like chase them around the pond, right? So that's how you do it. Now we have, it looks like the Light of the Twin Lamps just showed up with a financial gift over here on Entropy. Let's get out our raucous emojis, some salutes, some 07s for Light of the Twin Lamps, a $20 financial gift. God bless you. Thank you so much. You want to know how to fish? I went fishing with Carlisle. She knows how to fish. She can reel them in. Light of the Twin Lamps, $20 financial gift, says, what do you believe the motivation is for the GOP governors shipping, he's calling them migrants, but they're like border crossers, to more affluent communities? You need to watch Jason Goes Political, my friend, because this is one of the things I've talked about that I would do, except I'm seeing something that's not quite right with this, what they're doing. But let me continue with what he says here. And thank you so much for that $20. It's very meaningful, man. Thank you. It honestly baffles me, he writes, doesn't it incentivize these, quote, migrants to come in larger numbers now that Texas and Florida will transport them to wealthier cities that will bend over backward to provide for these, quote, migrants? Well, my friend, no. The bottom line is when they come across the border, and I'm sharing my opinion, so whatever CNN says, but and I could be wrong, but there aren't greater benefits. Okay, let me step back. It's not like Europe, where in one European country you get garbage benefits, and in another European country you get great ones. And so the intruders, people who are not invited, although they might be wonderful, want to make their way through the countries that have garbage benefits, welfare systems, to the ones that have wonderful welfare systems. By the way, I just saw was it Sweden? They just released, and make sure this is correct, I'm not positive, that, what was the number? It was crazy. It was like 90% or something like this of the asylum seekers have vacationed in the country they fled from. Check it out for yourself. So it's not like that in the US. Different states can have various, but federally, ultimately, they're going to be doing well relative to every other state. And their transportation is not prohibited. They can travel from, and it's actually quite cheap, especially by bus, to travel across the country. So they can, if they wanted, they could save up probably a single welfare payment, I don't know, and get on a bus and travel anywhere in the country, or two. So that is not going to incentivize more to come, because the difference between, when viewing the United States, the difference between Nirvana and Nirvana Plus which it'll be totally lawful for you to travel into anyhow once you're in nirvana, is not really going to substantially change the motivation. They just want to get to nirvana. The politicians in several states now are shipping some of these border crossers to these other states in what increasingly appears to me to be just a political stunt. When I first said, and was talking about this on Jason Goes Political, I said that if I were governor, I would ship them directly to the communities where there are wealthy anti-whites, because their presence is going to be disruptive, just as the presence of a bunch of new people showing up anywhere is disruptive, especially when their norms, their customs, etc., are very different from the place that they've arrived at. So they emigrate from wherever they emigrated from, and then where they immigrate into is a very different place. And so in this case, so I recommended that I said, as the governor of Virginia, I would buy land somewhere. I actually mentioned Martha's Vineyard. Buy land, build a giant warehouse that could house hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, and then I would ship nonstop, and they would be allowed to stay in the warehouse for a week, with fed and clothed, watered, everything they need, bathroom. During that week, they would be educated on where to go in town to get their welfare payments set up and public housing set up, and also where the high dollar schools are, where these rich anti-whites put their kids. I would probably drive several busload, maybe a busload or so over there. So this would be for appearances of just women and children. And I would go up to their most prestigious schools, private schools for their anti-white kids. And I would have film crew there to videotape them and how they are received at these prestigious schools. But my method is intended to inundate these places with these people to so disrupt their lives, as our lives are being disrupted elsewhere around the U.S., that all that money and all that villainy, anti-white villainy signaling about how much they love these people as long as they're far enough away. Carlisle told me about one tweet that said they were thrown out of Martha's Vineyard so fast that they didn't even get a chance to read the signs in the front yards that said everybody was welcome. So I wouldn't, what they're doing now, including DeSantis, is they're just sending up these small sums of people just as a political stunt, so that they can laugh that, boy, look at how they're handling this. I would move enough to change the minds of the people there, because ultimately they're going to, this is what I said, they're going to make us pay for those people wherever they end up. So those states, Maine, for example, the anti-whites will just say, okay, well, the rest of the country is going to have to pay for the border crossers that have been bussed up here and trained up here and flown up here. So ultimately, we're going to have to pay for it anyhow. That's why you have to send enough people to utterly disrupt their way of life. You send enough people to utterly disrupt their way of life. Surely, even though they're all going to be, 99.9% are going to be good, there are going to be some murderers and rapists and all coming across. And these anti-whites, I've told you all before how the one got into the argument with the one, I cornered him, got him to say, what are the odds that my wife or daughter will be raped? That's where I should have knocked him out. But, put them up where these people are. And so they won't continue to be able to villainy signal to the rest of the country. Oh, well, you people are just a bunch of heretics. No, they'll be made to love the white erasure like we have it shoved down our throats. You engender enough angst and anger, especially among the anti-white money holders in their towns, as you saw in Martha's Vineyard. I would surf at that place with human beings. I would, every bus, I would, if I was governor, every bus in the state I would take. Every single trains, everything would be full. I would make Martha's Vineyard it would be the New Mexico. It would be the new El Salvador. And then I would at the same time, I would videotape these people freaking out and moving them away. And then there would be a standoff. They would send police and the National Guard to man the roads on the way in to Martha's Vineyard. And that would be great because you have all of these people you've brought up there. I would put all the women and children up front, as many as I could find. And then you would have the troops on the other side with their guns. Boy, that would be a way to teach a message. Not 50 in a bus. Come on. So that's the thinking behind it. But thank you so much for the question, good brother, and the $20 financial gift. The Great Lovely Porridge says this. I quote, as governor, Jeff Deal, what will you do for blacks? I plan to make services more accessible for those in the black community who can't travel. What will you do for Hispanics? I planned to wind back the regulations on labor services which impede Hispanic workers. What will you do for white people? I don't see race. I will treat everybody equally. And I don't understand the question. Thanks for the chat, but I have to go now. That was inappropriate, close quote. He goes on here. Great job to NWG Clips. You were the first one to ask the question and hold them to account. If others can follow your lead, Republicans will be in crisis mode. They'll curse the day that NWG Clips dared ask the question, do you care about white people? And started an avalanche. I love it. Porridge, thank you, man. You're great. And Clips to the superhero. Folks, if you want to hear more about No White Guilt Clips and what exactly happened on that fated day, the question heard round the world. Maybe that's how we should put it into the history books. The shot heard round the world started America's independence. Now we have the question heard round the world. Do you care about white people? Oh my God. That's brilliant. That is brilliant. Let's do that. That will be the question heard round the world. All right, let me see if there's any other comments here. I'm going to get out of here. What time is it? Oh boy, it's almost midnight. Art Acrobat says, oh, I see Ian T.D. Wilson is here. Great to see you. Julia is here. Hello to you. Vexed. Art Acrobat says, if Alex Jones had gone free 10 years ago, he could have avoided lawsuits and public disgrace. He absolutely would have. He'd be in much better shape. He'd be a handsome man. He'd be more articulate, wealthier, everything else. Yeah, we would be much better off. Could you imagine if Alex Jones had started going free 10 years ago? That would have been something. Now he's going to end up in total obscurity. Oh, well. Well, folks, if you want to hear more about No White Guilt Clips and that fated day and that question heard around the world, you need go no further than Going Free tomorrow, because he's going to be my guest. Coming on around 6-ish p.m., but we'll be starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We hope that you will be there with bells on. And we're going to be obviously hearing from clips. That's going to be really exciting to learn exactly how we put it together, how we went in there, what it was like. And was it nerve-wracking? Was there any concern that there were going to be supporters that were going to, or some sort of bodyguards or anything, push back against him, or who knows what? Very eager to find out. I hope you all will be there. And First Last says, I made it. Well, you make it tomorrow too, because we're going to be hearing from No White Guilt clips. It's going to be epic. But it's been wonderful. Long roll in, but it was a needed roll in. And I will see you all tomorrow. Roll out.